third is Suarez. Goodell comes running in. He's under it, makes the catch. Here's the throw to the plate. It's in the air. He is out! Cameron Redpath's on! Oh, man, what a play! Deep to right field. Way up there and way out! Second
All right, we're about 15 minutes past the MLB trade deadline. Well, I don't know. The Phillies did make a big move on the 30th in getting Johan Duran from the Twins to be the closer for not just the rest of the season, but the next two after it. That did cost Mick Abel, which, look, Mick Abel was not worth a thing 6 months ago. So the fact he was more or less, I don't say the headliner. I think Tait was probably more the headliner in this trade, but the fact it was just the two of them and you didn't have to give up anything else for, top five-ish closer in the game with 2.5 years of control. I thought that was a pretty good deal. I can't complain about that one at all. It's just the rest of this is incredibly underwhelming, with Harrison Bader being the only other move you bring in. And yes, like, his OPS is better than Marsh's, but like these guys are dog shit. Like, I don't know how else to say it. This outfield sucks. They did not do enough to improve it. I was like, I'd rather go small, get a bunch of upgrades. They went big on the closer and then thought they were done. And it doesn't matter if you have a closer if you don't have a lead, and they don't hit enough. And this just doesn't do it. I don't see how they win the playoffs.
Yeah, I think we have differing opinions in terms of how, like, I agree with everything you said in terms of, the deadline outside of Duran being a little bit underwhelming on our end. I think looking at the Duran trade compared to the rest of the market, like doing that for, Abel and Tait when Mason Miller went for Leo DeVries. I know he has 2 or 3 more years, maybe 2 more years of control, but still, like, the fact that it went from we're starting it at Painter to, okay, Abel and Tait, like 2 hours later, it's pretty crazy. It's a really good deal. If you look at what the Mets gave up for a rental in Rogers, like, looking a little bit deeper into what those prospects were, it's not like too significant in that sense. But like on paper, they gave up a lot for a rental, and you're able to swing, Johan Duran for, like you said, a guy who not only wasn't on top prospect list last year, but like wasn't even like considered relevant to the point where he can, restore value to the first round pick that he was and move into the top 100 on lists. And then I think I read somewhere that the Twins had a really high evaluation on Tait, which, some, like, it is what it is. Obviously, you have to give to get really good players. And now we have a closer for 2.5 years that is, definitely top 5. You can make the case for, best stuff in the game out of the back end of the bullpen. And it kind of gives you, not to talk about offseason already, but it gives you some flexibility in terms of how you go about the offseason, in the sense that we've given, $10 million a year to the Knables and the Kimbrels and the Romanos of the world. So it's like you can kind of save that $10 million. Obviously, you'll have to pay him some. I think he's making like $4 million or $5 million this year, and then he's up for arbitration. So, you'll save some money there, and you can put towards a Schwarber extension or give JT money, stuff like that. So I think like that was, an A deal for me, borderline A+. But the Bader thing's interesting because now you're kind of saying that your deadline moves in terms of offense are Harrison Bader and what we're assuming is a Justin Crawford call-up. And, like, yes, like you were saying, you wanted to go small and kind of build around different various upgrades, but like realistically, like what does that look like based on what happened in the deadline? Like Bader is a really good piece for that kind of small plan. And yes, like they didn't get the Ramon Laureanos, or Suarez would have been nice, but in reality, like Lou Bob wasn't dealt, Stephen Kwan wasn't dealt. Like what does small look like for the other pieces that got dealt? Jeff Passan tweeted out a list of outfielders that got moved, and the big thing that we talked about was Gelb tweeted out, sorry, but it was Bader, Laureano, Mullins, Alex Call, Slater, Jesus Sanchez, James Outman, and Randall Grichuk. Like, I I get it. It's
Yastrzemski
frustrating
actually
not,
just got traded to the Royals.
and Yastrzemski,
So
yeah,
he
but
got that
it's like frustrating that we didn't like. The only deal that I regret not making was like I think Eugenio Suarez, we easily could have matched that, and I don't know what happened there.
Yeah,
I don't know if they didn't like the fit. I don't know if like it was weird that I guess they wanted Abel. Maybe Seattle's system just deeper because they had scouts scouting Abel, or they had scouts in AAA. So I don't know how that price changed in 24 to 48 hours from when Abel started to when the trade was made. But like looking at the deals that got made and the guys that got moved, and even the guys that didn't get moved. The White Sox asking for Jonah Tang plus from the Mets for Luis Robert, like no thanks. Like I get it, it's frustrating, and the market was really weird considering we got a great deal on Duran, but then other relievers went for really high. Like I don't know, given what transpired looking at it now that we're 20 minutes after it, like what could they have done differently to do the moves that we all want them to make? Like, do you want to give up Andrew Painter for Stephen Kwan? No. So like I don't know what looks different if we're complaining about it, because in all reality they did get better today.
Yeah, I just you need to know if it was Painter, but if it's 220 Miller and 60% ground ball Crawford, like they can't be holdups for me. They just can't be anymore. They're not there.
Agreed.
Painter,
But
I get.
When it comes out that the Guardians asked for Leo DeVries for Stephen Kwan, like they said it Leo DeVries plus, it's like at that point he's a number 3 prospect in baseball and he's an 18-year-old shortstop. Like the conversation for us, I'm assuming, starts at Painter and probably Arun, and then you're throwing more in there on top of it. And it's like at that point, I like Stephen Kwan. Like I don't need another lefty slap hitter that has a 770 OPS. I get it. There's more to Stephen Kwan than those numbers, but he won the Platinum Glove a few years back or last year, and then all of a sudden he's in the 54th percentile for outs above average. So like the defense fell off a cliff this year. His OPS is 770. I'm not doing Andrew Painter at all, let alone plus. So like again, I just don't know what, given the market or who was traded and stuff, what they could have done differently, unless there's just somebody that I'm just completely missing.
I don't think you are. I mean, I'm just like I'm generally annoyed. Like teams like Angels, like what are you doing? Like,
yeah, Taylor Ward's a big one.
Why isn't Joe Adell? Like they literally based their deadline plan as an under 500 team off of if they won on a Tuesday night or not. It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. They didn't help the case at all. I mean, the White Sox acting like Luis Robert is not a rental is an absolute joke too. There's a lot of dumb teams out there, and it kind of multiplies my frustration because you're not getting helped a lot. I mean, I would say the Phillies and the Mets had equal deadlines. The Phillies got Bader. They got Mullins. We got David Robertson. They got Rogers. They got Helsley. We got Durant. Now, the difference is they already had Diaz, whereas with Alvarado, we can't pitch him in the playoffs. That's the one difference I'd say. They didn't acquire a starting pitcher, right? So like they're still banking on all those guys
They're going to call up their top, probably Nolan McLean from what I've seen.
Yeah. So I don't know. And like, what are we doing? Is Marsh and Bader a platoon in left? And are we trusting Crawford every day. I could barely. I don't trust Stott, Marsh, and Bohm, so I'm supposed to trust someone younger than them now too in the playoffs. So you're just giving me 4 automatic black holes plus Castellanos swinging in the other batter's box. I mean, that's 5 holes now. So I'm down to if Turner can get 3 hits a night and if Schwarber and Harper hit a home run. That's what I'm down to. I just, it's not there. I don't know.
I agree with you that they like, I'm not saying by any means they're, a perfect product, A+ deadline. Like, I think the Duran move was A+, and Bader is an upgrade.
Yes,
I would have liked more, but like, I just looking at it, like you said, the Angels' names are, big. They should have kicked the tires on Taylor Ward, but I'm sure they did. And like the Angels, like you said, they don't know what the hell they're doing. Like, they won this week and they said we're going to buy, but then buying to them was like Andrew Chafin and Oswaldo Peraza. So like, what does that even mean?
Yeah, I don't know. They took the Nationals middle relief. I just don't understand it. Yeah.
So, having Castellanos and Bohm hitting cleanup in the playoffs is not going to be good. I know you sent the tweet in the group chat about the contending playoff that Sean tweeted out with the contending playoff teams with the OPS pluses for their cleanup spot. Everybody's over 117. Ours is 96, so 4% lower than average. So definitely not great. But like, unless you're trading for Suarez, which again, that's the only one, like the only miss I think that we really had. Like, unless you're doing that deal, there's nobody out there that's going to slot in and change that.
Yeah, and I think I was just frustrated with that deal not happening when pretty much both Schwarber and Harper are saying they're willing to do some moving around if needed, and they were definitely talking about him. So,
yeah,
like that's annoying. I don't know. The one thing I will say is they've positioned themselves where they don't really have to spend $1 on pitching in the offseason. You have Wheeler next year, you have Sanchez next year, you have Luzardo next year, you have Nolan next year. And because you didn't trade Painter, you probably have him as your 5 next year with Ranger leaving. And then Duran's under contract, Kirkering's pre-arb, and I guess you would pick up the 2 options that Strom and Alvarado have because they're relatively cheap for the price of relievers plus what it would cost you at the deadline to do this all over again. And then maybe 1 or 2 of those top 6 picks from this past draft fast track, and they help you too. So like, yeah, okay, you'll have to spend $4 million there, $5 million there on some middle relief, but your rotation, your setup, closing is all set already for next year. And I guess that does give them the flexibility to blow up this lineup if they need to, because they do. I just don't see how this works out. All 3 of Bohm, Stott, Marsh cannot be back here next year. It's just a disaster with the 3 of them. Castellanos needs to be moved. I don't know what you do with him because I don't know. Does Yaz have another year? Or the Royals not going to be looking for outfielders now? Someone's got to look for him for a year. Got to get out of Taiwan Walker's money, but they've at least put themselves where it is a pitching heavy market. There's a lot of good closers that are available. Helsley, Iglesias, who has not had a great year, but overall pretty good. Kenley Jansen, I know I'm missing a few more, but it's a strong starter market with Ranger, Gallen. I know I'm missing a ton more. I just can't think right now. Yeah, there's a lot of teams are going to be investing in pitching. So if you're just solely focused on changing your lineup, you're probably going to be at the front of the line for most of these guys while everyone else is preoccupied with pitching. So I think they've set themselves up nicely to do that. It's just I feel like we're more or less hoping to get lucky this year, and we didn't actually, do the thing to put them over the top. They're just trying to get lightning in the bottle, and I just don't think it works.
Yeah, it's definitely a weird thing because when you have like Turner, Harper, and Schwarber, like, is it necessarily lightning in a bottle? Like, those are 3, bona fide studs. that are all having good years. So like on paper, the framework of it is there. Like those three guys can get hot and get you, wins in the playoffs, especially with this pitching staff. But we've seen it before. I feel like every August you and I are sitting here saying, the Stars are gonna have to play like stars if they want to win, and we obviously see them in some way or another fall short at some point. So like it's kind of Groundhog's Day saying that all over again, which I definitely share the frustrations of it, but I think like they're doing the right things in terms of how they're approaching, the trade deadline and all this. Like if we did, overpay for Luis Robert, like everyone would have been up in arms about it. Or if we're trading Andrew Painter for Stephen Kwan, like I think people would have started freaking out. Like I was scrolling Twitter a lot today, and the Padres fans were like so excited when they got Mason Miller, and then when they saw it was for Leo DeVries, they were like, "Holy shit! We traded the number 3 prospect in baseball for a reliever." Now, obviously, Stephen Kwan's a position player and stuff like that, but like prospects do matter in terms of how you go about your future, and obviously the window for this core is closing very quickly. So I'm not trying to be like a prospect hugger, but like you do have to have some smarts about it, and it's not like, oh, window's closed, time to sell anybody for a guy who's hitting 200 but he has a high OPS against lefties. Like that doesn't always travel. Harrison Bader has really good playoff stats. He's a career 804 OPS guy in I think like 82 or 85 playoff at bats. So like good numbers there with a bit of a track record. So it's a very good move that helps them win this year. And like they are set up, like you said, to kind of be in the driver's seat for how they want to approach the offseason, where it seems like a lot of people will be zigging towards pitching and we can kind of zag. Like I don't know if that means like a Kyle Tucker type move. I think that would really involve us dumping, like you said, the Castellanos contract, at least maybe the Taiwan contract too, but mostly Castellanos just to free up that outfield spot. Or if you so choose, I don't know what the first baseman market looks like, but Bryce said it last offseason and he said it at this deadline. And I think if, they kind of fall flat again with really poor production from the outfield, I think he's going to be more aggressive in saying, go get me a first baseman and I will go play the outfield. So you can move one of him or Nick to left and then have the other staying right, and you can go get a first baseman. It'll be interesting. They're definitely set up for the offseason, but it sucks that after every deadline we're kind of sitting here underwhelmed to the point where we have to say, stuff about the offseason when there's still 60 games left in the season with, hopefully more wins after that in the playoffs.
Yeah, Bader's just not a lineup spark, and this lineup's looked so dead for so long. He has 12 home runs from the right side, so that's like a win because that would be the most a righty has on this team, I think. So, what a joke. Yeah, I mean, they just poorly constructed this offense. There's no other way to put it. Just trusting Bohm, Stott, and Marsh again is ridiculous. This Marsh hot streak happened at the worst possible time because I don't know if we give them any false sense of security that's not really there because we just know what's going to happen eventually. Castellanos is shot. I don't know what to say there. Like, Real Muto's been good for what he is, but shit, that guy should be batting 7th or 8th, not 4th. That's just what the issue is. They do not have enough offensively. I don't see it. I get it. Like, they're going to try to go in the playoffs and win every game 2-1. Just what I've seen, that's not going to happen. The year they made the deepest playoff run with this core was because Harper, Schwarber, Hoskins, and Real Muto were on an absolute other planet when it came to hitting home runs. That's just not going to happen this year. So I don't know. I don't see it, and I feel like maybe it's not all. I mentioned it's not all their fault because you have to, play with what's available. But it really does feel like it's wasted another year. A year when the best record in the MLB coming on the deadline was the Milwaukee Brewers, and I don't think they added a single player to their 26-man roster today.
They got rid of. They traded Nestor Cortez.
Yeah, just frustrating when it kind of feels like it's a year where there's some opening. The Dodgers, with all their bullpen injuries, didn't do a ton to alleviate that. It's like they left the door open. I feel like the Padres probably got the most improved out of the NL playoff teams, but they were also the worst of the NL playoff teams. So I don't know. You've pretty much 6 teams that are on equal footing. The only team, I guess, that could possibly make a run to challenge that would be the Reds. And also, I don't know what the hell's going on with the Marlins, but it feels like it's the Reds. But the years of the NL 6 seed being a freaking 85-win team is very much gone. Mm-hmm. I feel like all 6 of these teams that make the playoffs are going to have at least 90 wins, which is saying something. I don't know if any of them will have 100, but I think they'll all be somewhere between 99 and 90. Just how closely packed they are. And I feel like, you kind of had a chance to be the separator and didn't. And even though you had Duran and you signed Robertson, you could have done what the Yankees did and just kept going. They added 3 relievers today, 2 guys that were closers. Yeah. I guess maybe 3. Jake Bird was at one point closing for the Rockies, which I know doesn't count, but you could have got a Danny Colombe. I don't know how you say that dude's name. Apparently you don't pronounce the bay at the end of it. Colombe. You could have done something like that. You could have got like a Maton off the Cardinals. I don't know. You could have done something at least smaller because it's a lot better than freaking Romano, Joe Ross, and Max Lazar and Daniel Roberts. So you're only eliminating maybe 2 of those guys now instead of all 4 of them because none of them should be here. And, kind of my goal of eliminating the shit and just at least being average in the places where you were completely below average, you only succeeded in 2 of those. If they DFA Kepler, which I don't even know is a thing right now, they might just send Weston Wilson down. Now, of course, when Bum comes back, then maybe. But I don't know. I didn't feel like they did enough to eliminate what the holes were. And I don't know, maybe do you start Luzardo to the pen sooner rather than later? Like if Nola comes back and you bring up Painter, like you just throw him back there now and be like, get used to it? I don't know.
Yeah. So Dombrowski spoke, and one of his things that he said was that, Crawford and Painter will be up here in the next few weeks. I hope that does. I don't know. At this point, you don't have to manage Painter's innings. It's going to be August 1st. There's no innings limit. He's pitched some in AAA, but whatever. He's going to have maybe 10 starts, if that, before the playoffs start. So there's no room for caution there. Let him go to the starting rotation and get Luzardo back there because, like we talked about last time, his biggest issue has been the inability to pitch from the stretch. So, if they can get him back there and let him work on it for 2 months or have Cotham work with him in bullpens and everything and just get used to what it's like coming out of the bullpen, because the routine changes drastically in terms of how to approach it. You need to get amped up, all this different stuff that goes into it. It's a lot different from preparing for a start. So, with how not temperamental, because, he seems pretty even-keeled when he's pitching, but with how finicky or superstitious or regimented that he is, I think the sooner you can get him back there and get him used to it, assuming that he's the one that's going to go back there to the pen, the sooner you can get him back there, the better off you're going to be come October when he actually has to do it for real and get you high leverage outs. If you think Painter is going to contribute, then don't mess around. Get him up there so that you can help your bullpen out in the long run by getting Luzardo used to it. I think that makes the most sense. I don't see any reason why Crawford shouldn't be up this weekend if you're confident in him contributing to the team. He should be up here for the Tigers series. Obviously, you're not going to have him start Saturday against Scooble in what might be like his first or second game in the majors. But, like, it's not like the Tigers starting pitching is not great in terms of names, paper. I don't think they have a ton of lefties. I know, like, Chris Paddock, who they traded for, like, this week, who's, like, not great now that Reese Olson is hurt, is their number 2. So, like Justin Crawford should be up here as soon as possible and get him in the lineup and play him every day. Like, it should be Bader and Marsh in left and Justin Crawford in center until he, proves to you that he physically cannot do it. Because I get it. The player profile is not great in terms of, 61% ground ball, all this stuff. But we've said that every level that he's advanced and he's continued to hit 330 and get on base and steal bases. He's had 30-plus stolen bases, every single season. It can take some of the pressure off the rest of your lineup if you put a guy in the 9 spot doing that, when the big message that it seems like they've been trying to preach is, hey, let's become the Diamondbacks, since the Diamondbacks beat us and now all of a sudden our OBP's up but our home runs are down. Just let him be the Diamondbacks in the 9 spot, and then just let, like, Turner do kind of the same thing but also keep hitting doubles in the leadoff spot, and then just let Schwarber and Harper mash. Like, if you do that, you have a really fun flip from the bottom of your lineup that's been really bad to the top of the lineup, assuming that Crawford can do it. But you won't know until, if it gets to the point where they call Crawford up. We didn't make any offseason or trade deadline acquisitions other than Bader because we think Crawford's the guy. And then Johan Rojas is playing every other day because the 22-year-old Crawford needs a break. Like, that's bullshit. It can't become one of these things where Thompson, like, the reason Thompson came in for Girardi is because Girardi was so over-analytical, playing matchups, playing this, playing that, and Thompson was supposed to be this feel guy. It can't get to the point where, lefty on the mound, it's got to be Rojas. No, like, if you think Crawford is a part of your future and you wouldn't go get a guy like Stephen Kwan because you were held up in trade talks over Justin Crawford, it can't be another platoon situation. You have to figure that out sooner rather than later.
Yeah, and I guess my fear is they bring him up, he gets absolutely destroyed. And then what do you do? No one's going to want to trade for him when they saw what happened to him when he got to the majors, and you can't play him. That's why I kind of was just like, trade him, because I didn't want to deal with the alternative too much. I would have dealt with the alternative with him, as you mentioned, being that fun Diamondbacks do, if I had 35 home runs at third base right now instead of 7. It's just a lot easier to put up with stuff like that when I'm getting production elsewhere, but I'm not getting it elsewhere. So now I just added another slap hitter to a team of slap hitters. Like, I don't know. I don't see a way it works. I really don't. I don't know what they do. I mean, you need Schwarber and Harper to just go ballistic, and it's just 2 guys that can hit home runs. No one else can. I don't know where else it's going to come from. It's not like, okay, it might come a little bit more from Bader than everyone else in that outfield, but that's not saying much. And I don't know. I mean, we're talking about an outfield that since May 1st was like 27th in baseball in OPS. Like, freaking think about that, how bad some of these teams are, and they have better offensive outfields than the Phillies. And I don't know. You gave me the Angels outfield. We have the best record in baseball, like, by a mile. But stuck here with these idiots. I don't know.
Yeah, the Marsh hot streak hurt a bit. I think that kind of held them
it was
back.
a terrible time. Yeah, I don't know. I'm worried about how much that tucked them in and not doing something. But at the same time, it's also on them because they should have never ran it back with these guys this past offseason. They tried to get rid of Bohm. It didn't happen. Should have just got whatever the hell you could have got for him and signed Bregman, who's having a great year when healthy with Boston. Or, you could have just done absolutely nothing there. And then all of a sudden Rafael Devers was available in early June. Could have, I don't know. There's so many different things that should have happened in the past that have now gotten to this point where we're relying on 3 guys to carry a 9-man lineup. And you're just hoping everyone else gets on base once in a while. And I just don't see how that works in the playoffs when you can very easily pitch around people because Bohm will ground into a double play and Castellanos will swing in the other batter's box. So I don't know. The protection's not there. I don't see how it works.
Yeah, no. I mean, we've kind of seen how the protection has faltered before, but I don't know, it'll be interesting. I think Bader's definitely an upgrade, and obviously Duran solidifies the back end of the bullpen for the next 2.5 years. But it's just the expanded wild card makes it tough because it's always going to be a seller's market now, and not only are the prices high, but there's so many just like fringe teams. Like the Cardinals aren't technically out of it, but they're listening to their top guys like Donovan and Burleson and stuff like that. So like the prices there are ridiculously high, and they're not all necessarily fits, even though they're slight improvements. So it's like it's difficult to gauge what the expanded wild card has done to how the trade deadline operates. So that just kind of dictates it all. It's not an excuse because everyone has to deal with it, but it definitely changes the way. It's different today than it was 5 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely is. And if Bryson Stott is hurt, go on the IL.
Yeah. I
am sick of this. I'm sick of it being an excuse. Just go on the IL if you are hurt. This is annoying as hell watching him. When everyone wants to defend him. Dude can't hit. If you can't hit, go on the IL because it's driving me nuts. We didn't talk about the fact this dog shit team lost the series to the White Sox. Yeah, I don't know. We'll come back in a couple of weeks, see what things look like. I'm sure Duran will have 0 save opportunities, but we'll check it out then.